used to do escorting too. You did OF for 6 years, or you did sex work for a total of 6 years?
6 years, but I did OF. Well, it was Patreon before OnlyFans.
Yeah, it was like, yeah.
So I've been online for about 5 years.
Sure. Can you talk a little bit about the revenue earnings you were making?
So I was 18 when I first started, baby. And there's obviously a market for that because men are depraved. My first month, I made $27,000.
Wait, what do you mean men are depraved?
Men are depraved. Like, what do you mean?
As in they go.
Men are the buyers of men are the buyers of pornography, of prostitution. Yeah.
Okay, so you go ahead.
So my first month I made $27,000.
Wow.
And then I made a steady stream of over $20,000 for about 3 years, and then it
per month.
Yeah.
So you averaged about $20,000 per month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is not usual. I want to say that any woman watching this, that is the top 1% of OnlyFans. And OnlyFans, the top 1% makes about 44% of the website's revenue.
I'll say now
Most
it's actually
women,
0.9 because even top one, I was top one and I was not making $20K
Yeah.
a month.
One quick question.
Most women make about $100 a month.
You said your first month you made $27K, but obviously OnlyFans wasn't around then. So
Yeah.
when you turned 18, did you immediately go into Patreon?
Yes.
Like kind of what was the timeline? Because you said you did escorting too. So did you jump right into escorting, or was that later
So
on?
I was a homeless teen.
Okay.
So I was doing work before I turned 18 and around the time I turned 18. And then when I was about, I think going into my 19th birthday is when I switched over to online because I had a negative experience with a John, and I figured that it was just more safe to do everything online.
Okay, but so you got started pretty quickly with the escorting.
Yes, immediately.
But you said you had a bad experience, and then did you stop entirely? Because you said you switched to just doing online. So do you mean you stopped escorting and then you just started doing like Patreon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Immediate switch.
So it was pretty short term, the period of time that you were escorting?
Less than a year.
Less than a year. Okay, just curious. And so the $27K that you made that first month, that was primarily from escorting?
No.
Oh.
No, I was making nothing escorting. That was...
Just one sec. Philan Life, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Appreciate it. Sorry, go ahead.
I was making very, very little escorting because you can't really go online and do whatever. But I had already built I used to have like a meme account on Twitter where I'd go like viral for like funny tweets, and people would always be like, oh, I'd pay to see you naked. I'd do, all these things. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just start the Patreon. And because I was so young, I think, promoting yourself is pretty easy on Twitter. And I already had a Twitter platform.
The reason that you started, though? Because people on Twitter would say things like that?
That was the reason that I started doing the online stuff. But there are lots of reasons. So a teenage girl starts sex work. But I think one of the reasons, I was working at Hooters, actually. And people were paying for my panties. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go on Seeking Arrangements. Before then, I was, this was right before I turned, I don't know how illegal, I don't want to say anything illegal, but
selling methamphetamine?
Yeah, no, I would never. Okay. I was never selling drugs. Sorry, I'm a shaker. I'm a mover and a shaker.
Wait, so what were you doing?
I was just on Seeking Arrangements, but I was using a different name, a different ID.
Oh.
I was finding ways to make money illegally for about 6 months, and then I turned 18.
On Seeking?
Yeah.
Escorting?
Yeah.
But you said you found ways to make money illegally. I mean, escorting is...
I was, underage.
Yeah.
Oh, you were under 18?
Yes.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's because I thought you said you started at 18.
I started what at 18?
You said, well, maybe that was just the online content that you were posting.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I moved on to everything was
that's a yikes.
Patreon was 18. I was of age for Patreon.
Okay, but the escorting you were under.
Yes, for a couple months.
Yikes. Okay, that's yeah. Okay, illegal activities understood.
Yeah,
okay,
it's pretty tragic.
Yeah. So you said you were escorting. How many? And I know they're called Johns. How many Marks too? I've heard. How many
men have I slept with?
In the escorting sense.
Very few. Like 5 or 6. Maybe 4 or 5, yeah. around that
Okay,
number.
so not like,
No, I didn't
Crazy.
do it. Yeah, I
It
only
was
did it for a
short.
matter of months, and it was the same person over and over.
short. Okay, and you were on Seeking, so you had some sugar daddies, I imagine, just whatever. How many different men were you finessing on Seeking?
Well, I was actually robbing a lot of men on Seeking.
You were robbing.
Well, I was doing both. I was doing both. I mean, listen, I was a homeless teen. I was living out of my car, out of a motel, on my friends' couches. But I was hustling. I was doing okay. If you want to meet up, give me $400. And then they give me $400, and then I'd go ghost, which serves them right. They're trying to buy sex from a 18-year-old. Your money's gonna get taken. You should be in jail. So.
Well, it's still. Wait, so are you like justifying the fraud? I'm just trying to.
I think it's completely justified. I think that you should be a felon if you buy sex.
Interesting. Okay. So, well, I mean, you admitted as much earlier on during your introduction. You're
Sex industry.
sex industry. Okay. So, quick question, but I want to continue a little bit on this. Do you think that? So you think procuring sex work should be criminalized? In terms of.
I believe in the
but-
Nordic model.
but do you
so
think-
it's criminalized for men to buy, but it's not criminalized for women to sell.
Well, what if a woman wanted to buy? Would that also be criminalized?
Women do not buy sex. But yes, it would be criminalized.
Well, generally speaking, there's not a huge market for it, but I'm sure you could acknowledge there are some.
There are very, very,
very
few.
Very few.
It would still be criminalized, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So, but the prostitutes or women who are prostituting or escorting, you don't think that they ought to also be,
I think that they should be helped.
okay.
Yeah, I think that there should be social outreach programs, and that they should be given the tools to get. Most women don't get into prostitution because they want to. That's a very Western.
Did she leave? Or-
I think she went to the bathroom.
oh, okay. I thought that was the.
No, that was the door.
Yeah, that was the door.
Yeah, the bathroom door is
What?
definitely open.
Her purse is here, so she's coming back.
Oh, okay. In any case, sorry.
Yeah, well, I was saying it's a very Western idea that women want to do sex work. Most women who are getting into sex work, there's a lot of bustling happening. Most women
Yeah.
who get into sex work are doing it because they're being trafficked, or because they're very down on their luck,
Sure.
or because they're homeless, or because they're addicted to drugs. So yeah, I believe that there should be social outreach programs for prostitutes.
Okay.
How's
Got
your
it.
relationship with your parents?
Horrible. I'm basically an orphan. Yeah, that was why I was basically a homeless youth.
Yeah, you said you were homeless, so you were like, was it kicked out of the house at 18 or even before that?
So I was actually sent to a residential treatment center at 14.
Is that where you got the hat?
Yes. No. And then when I got out, I had healed. I'd done all this therapy. I was in state custody. And then when I got out, my parents were still, my mom was still addicted to drugs. My dad was still an angry drunk. So then I just sort of left
Okay.
at about 16. And then I was kind of transient in and out of their home, but mostly out of their home. I lived with my high school boyfriend. And then when we broke up, I was on the street.
Okay, gotcha.
Ryan,
Yeah.
apparently that girl went to her car, and so she's not gonna be able to get back in.
Why did she go to her car?
It's my car. She doesn't have the keys, so not sure.
What? Can you send Nick down?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Sorry, we're getting some distractions here in the back. So just to bring it back, as far as earnings go, on average, you're doing about 20K a month.
Yeah. Oh, I
So, like,
also,
250K a year, about.
Yeah, I was doing really good at the beginning. Don't know where that money went. Fast money comes and it goes, especially when you're 18.
$250,000 a year, about. Okay.
Yeah, especially when you're 18. But I also got into sex work because I had a criminal record, so I couldn't get a job.
What was your?
It had to do with my mom. It's expunged from my record. It was domestic
you don't-
assault
you
though,
don't have
but
to
it
get
wasn't.
into it, yeah.
I didn't do it.
But okay, and then you also said, I want to touch back on this really quick. When you said you were robbing men,
Yeah.
so part of that was you were just, you were asking for money for meetups, they would send it, and then you just wouldn't meet up. But
Yeah.
would you also, if you did meet up with a guy,
No, I would not.
Would you rob them in person,
No,
for
no,
example?
no, no. That's
okay.
dangerous. No.
Okay. Okay, so never any in-person robbing.
No.
But this was more of a finesse, like I'll meet you.
Yeah, I was hustling a
Hustling.
little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen the movie Casino?
No.
Oh, okay. Good movie. Robert De Niro. Just
I know I haven't seen it. I've heard of it.
good movie. Anyways,
I've not seen
kind
it.
of unrelated.